Welcome to the Cookbook, where you'll learn about the real recipes behind building a business. Entrepreneurship doesn't look the same for everyone, and neither does success. You'll hear from entrepreneurs of all kinds, tech founders, coaches, creatives, and spiritual entrepreneurs. People who've taken very different paths and learned powerful lessons along the way. We talk about the wins, the missteps, and the moments who shaped who they are today. I'm Iris Goldfeder, and this is the Cookbook. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I am super excited about my guest today, Allison Lowen. I have to tell you that, so we met through, I think like one of the podcast people, and she worked with 3-pound monkeys. She had me at 3-pound monkeys. I mean, what the hell? So we're going to talk about that. Before we get started, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a review, and any nuggets that you've gotten, let us know in the comments below. All right. So without further ado, let's meet Allison.
Hi. Thank you, Iris. As Iris said, I'm Allison Lowen. I work with 3-pound married monkeys, and that tends to be the fastest way to get anybody's attention in a conversation. Without a doubt. A little bit more context.
I mean, yeah, it's. I said to when we first met, my wife got home and I was like, I met somebody today who worked with 3-pound married monkeys, and she was just like, what? I was like, yeah. So, but anyway, I mean, that is part of the interesting part of you. That's not all of the interesting part of you. You do so much. So, you create your own website. Just going to throw that out there because it looks amazing now.
With your help, of course. Would not look the same without you.
But you did the work. I mean, it looks real good.
Yeah, I guess a good place to start is, I'm not out there just manhandling monkeys in a jungle. I promise you, this actually has some structure to it. I just came off of about 13-year career studying social behavior in monkeys, specifically in monkeys that mate for life. And that was my, bread and butter for a long time. And I just recently shifted into being a full-time freelancer, author, and editor, as well as still dabbling in my science with the monkeys. So in a unique transition period that you caught me in, but I still kind of like to call myself Monkey Girl on my Substack and sometimes on my website, just because that's the easiest way to remember me and for people to get excited and interested as well.
Well, I didn't know that you had a Substack. Now I'm going to have to go join your Substack.
Subscribe, Iris. I'll be in your inbox 3 times a week.
I mean, I'll totally subscribe. So I'm still stuck on the website, but so how did you go from Monkey Girl to, and you're still Monkey Girl, so I can't say non-Monkey Girl, but no, let's back up. How did you first start working with monkeys? Because I still think, the whole monkey thing is still just, when you showed me the picture, I mean, they're like this big. They're like the teeniest little things you've ever seen.
They are teeny.
So how did you, did you handle them? How did you work with them?
So the story is going to get wilder before it gets more normal. Awesome. I actually started my experience as an undergrad in college, undeclared major, thought maybe I'd do math, something pretty normal. Quickly in a general ed class, met a woman who said, hey, I just got back from the jungle. I was studying apes that sing for the last 3 months. And I immediately go, there are apes that sing. Tell me more.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
And that was my gateway into primatology and all these really interesting people that study really fascinating animals. That led me down a couple-year rabbit hole of working on a bunch of different, ape song recordings. I worked on a few different projects that were all focused on ape communication.
You have those?
I do. I do.
You have to share that with me because I want to hear an ape song, but go ahead.
Oh, they're beautiful, Iris.
Wow.
that led me through a fun couple internships and eventually landed me actually in the jungle of Malaysian Borneo. So, island in Southeast Asia, they have a beautiful rainforest, and I spent a summer there doing field work, living out in the middle of the rainforest, recording vocalizations of these beautiful apes. Absolutely had a blast, and it, as many researchers will attest to, opened up more questions than it did answers. And so I came back just wanting to know, what about these apes makes them sing? They're also pair living apes. So they find each other, they mate for life, they wake up every morning and they sing together in the rainforest, these beautiful ballads.
I'm going to cry.
It's as Disney-esque as you can imagine. Oh my gosh. And so I had all these questions about what these animals are like. How do they choose their mates? How do they decide what they spend their time doing? How does their bond change over time? And luckily enough, someone said, hey, you do realize that there's a species of monkeys that lives at our research facility like 2 miles down the road, right? Of course, I had no idea. I was so set on working with wild primates. I was so set on going to the jungle and completely forgotten we have a primate research center at my university. Start talking to people, and they have a colony of over 100 little 3-pound monkeys that, similar to the gibbons, the apes that I studied in the jungle, these monkeys are animals that mate for life, and they also sing every morning. But they're completely...
You did not tell me that the 3-pound monkeys sang. Okay, we did not.
Oh, the 3-pound monkeys sang too, Iris.
Oh my God, this is like the best podcast ever. Okay, go ahead.
I'll try to find some recordings for you. I have to say, the gibbons, the apes that I work with, their songs are beautiful. The little 3-pound monkeys, I say that their songs, they're a little bit more like exaggerated yelling or barking. It's not quite as pretty, but it'll still bring me to tears. So, we'll put it that way. But I kind of fell down this rabbit hole hard, met this colony of monkeys, and then spent the past 10 years working with them, studying their social behavior, their communication, and these really just intense, enduring bonds that could rival the most, solid of human marriages.
Wow. That just fascinates me. Now I'm stuck on 3-pound monkeys singing. I mean, I was stuck on the 3-pound monkeys before. Now I'm stuck on the singing. It's so fascinating, though. I mean, I think that, and what I love about, because I love animals, which makes it really hard to not be a vegetarian. That's like a whole nother story. But
I know. Yeah.
It's really hard. But, and I should say, when I hear stories like this of apes, mating for life and singing, and, yes, the 3-pound monkeys, I'll never get that out of my head as long as I live. I'll probably dream about something like that tonight. But, just having this whole other culture out there, right? This like species and this, it fascinates me. I mean, it's just like, and I'll bet they probably behave way better than a lot of, humans do. So,
there's so much we could say about people and culture and all of that. One thing that I think is fascinating is that, these 2 different species that I'm talking about and humans, all 3 of us evolved completely independently. Our enduring relationships and this pair living structure, this ability to form these long lasting selective bonds, it evolved completely independently 3 times now in the primate order. And our brains share so much overlap with these animals and our behavior as well. But then you look across the entire primate order and there's all sorts of ranges in behavior and social structure. But you do see this ability to bond that pops up, and that's really similar to what we do.
Wow. So once you started, what stands out most for you?
Oh, goodness. I think that we're in some ways not as special as we think we are. And that's both annoying in some ways and really beautiful in other ways. Being able to see the depth of emotion and the attachment that can form between 3-pound monkeys that look nothing like us. It's pretty incredible to see how deeply they care about each other and how intense that bond is. That they're If one of them dies, they're devastated. They go through depression just like a human would. If they're separated for any reason, they're distressed. They're thrilled when they're reunited. They just want to spend all day near each other. It's all of the kind of most endearing parts of our bond with our partners, but without the filter of how you should act out in normal society, or, whatever you want to label it as. But I would also say one of the things that stands out to me is what an odd career path this is, for sure. This is
but it's
not a
fascinating.
typical existence.
I mean, no, no. And there's this I think it's fascinating. I mean, like you say odd, but I think that it's fascinating because I think that there is so much that we can learn from animals. There's these two eagles, Jackie and Shadow, that are like Big Bear Valley. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're like,
I have not.
I've been following them for 2 years. And there's this whole petition to save their land because, of course, this developer wants to come in and take the land and make this thing. So we're trying to raise $10 million in, I think, by July. So it's not a lot of time, but I think they're going to do it. But, there's these two eagles, and I didn't realize that they mated for life.
They do.
Never knew that. And then, so it was Jackie, and then Eagle 1, and then Shadow came, and Shadow was like a subadult and was like,
okay.
No, that's my woman, fought the other eagle and won over Jackie. So, and they've been together for I think 7 years or something now. It's this fascinating thing. So she had her first clutch, and it didn't make it this year, which was sad. And then the ravens came and ate it, and there was this whole thing. And then she had her first egg of her second clutch yesterday. And
oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm fascinated, actually, friends of Big Bear Valley, if you're listening to me, I know it was a few days ago. It wasn't yesterday, but this is going to be aired, and so it doesn't matter. But I digress. Man, ADHD sucks sometimes. But anyway, so
sucks and a gift.
I mean, it is. It's a superpower. But however, watching these animals and watching those two just with their relationship and it's this amazing bond, right? So I think there's so much that we can learn from the animal kingdom that yeah. So I don't think it's odd. I think it's fascinating that you did that.
Fascinating and a privilege. I have to say, I'm incredibly lucky that I've been able to do this as a job and to have the resources and the ability to ask these cool questions that are seemingly pretty basic to these animals' biology, but have pretty big implications if you want to understand bonding and social behavior on a much larger level. But I have to say, I tried every other career along the way. The advice I was given early on was, if you can go do anything else, go do it. And I tried. I tried to go the pre-vet route. I tried to go the pre-med route. And I just kept coming back to the primates. And it was kind of this itch that could not be scratched. There's something to be said about kind of following that gut instinct and just going for it.
Yes. Yeah. And you did. So what took you from 3-pound monkeys and primates to publishing and author and developmental editor and manuscript rescue?
Yes. Oh, all the things.
All the things.
I have written fiction for fun my entire life. And that's always been kind of a hobby in the background, kind of just a me thing. Didn't really talk about it, always did it. I was one of those book nerds that just escaped into fiction as I was growing up, got to live so many different lives and experience all sorts of things, travel the world through books, and then kind of found myself through my teen years writing books as well. That kind of paused once I hit college, found monkeys, traveled around the world studying monkeys for real. It's phenomenal. And then COVID hit and found myself sitting at home, not sure what to do, and decided, hey, let's pull out those books, and just kind of dove back into it as a way to find a place to escape to when the whole world was stuck inside. And that kind of reaffirmed to me that there's something there as well. So flash forward, to 2025, last year, I was looking at the end of a contract for one of my academic positions anyways, kind of realized that I had plateaued a little bit in the sense that there's a ton of bureaucracy involved in traditional academic research. Funding is being cut left and right these days. And I was also realizing that I don't fit into quite as many boxes as I thought I did and needed a little bit more control over my own life.
Yeah.
Took a minute to step back and go, if someone just handed me the freedom to go do whatever I wanted to do, besides the monkeys, what would I do? And I said, books. I would love for people to pay me to work on their books. And it's a skill that I had been kind of cultivating in the background through working on friends' manuscripts, through all my science communication and science writing during my PhD. And it all kind of came together in this place where I realized I have this pretty rigorous science background in addition to the ability to tell a good story. And I've kind of found this niche of people who have a mission or have a story to tell, but don't know how to tell it. And I've been able to kind of carve out this space where I work with people on memoir and mission-driven nonfiction, primarily, to bring these books to life. Someone that needs a person to grab them by the hand and go, we can do this. We're going to bring this book to life. It's not going to be as hard as you think, and just run headfirst into it. And that's been the last year now of my life. And it has been so rewarding and so much fun.
Good. So I love how you went from one super rewarding thing to like another super rewarding thing. Are you going to write like a book about the monkeys?
Oh, I am. Of course, Iris. Just for you, actually.
Oh, no, I'm kidding.
I am. I'm working on a book right now, actually. So I'm represented by Kirsten Newhouse at Ultra Literary. And she and I are working on a book proposal right now all about the bonds that we see in non-human primates and how communication factors into those overall relationships. So still taking shape, still in those early stages, but taking kind of all the things that I've learned through the years, putting it into something that hopefully is really entertaining, but also lets people kind of have a mirror into their own lives and relationships as well.
That's amazing. I remember, years ago, God, March of the Penguins.
Oh, yes.
Right. With, Morgan Freeman of all people, like narrating. It was like, oh my God. So you need to do a movie about, I'm just throwing this out there, Hollywood, the world needs this movie with, primates and little 3-pound monkeys. But anyway, I digress. So how do you, so I'm looking at, I know your, I think, website by heart by now, but, looking at Manuscript Rescue, is that somebody started on it already and they're like, eek, I got this far and I don't know what to do from here? Or
Yeah. So Manuscript Rescue is specifically for academics and researchers that have a scientific paper that is almost done and just needs that little push to get out the door. And that's something that I kind of became the fixer, if you will, in my last few years in academia of helping push those papers through to publication. It's often not because of the science. It's often not because of the writing. It's a constraint on resources. It's the fact that there are not enough people to finish that paper and push it through. People are focused on getting the next grant or finishing the project that they're working on, or people leave academia. There's a ton of people that do a whole PhD's worth of research and then go get a job for Verizon or, some pharmaceutical company, and those papers no longer matter to them quite as much. But I think that there's a real value in being able to communicate our science. And so Manuscript Rescue is just my way of saying, hey, I've published quite a few papers, happy to help you kind of push that out the front door so that your research can get out there. And it's also not languishing away on your desktop, because that's pretty common.
And like science is needed more now than ever.
It is. Yeah.
So, okay. And then, developmental editor.
Yeah. So much fun. So developmental editing, specifically for books, it's basically when someone has already drafted a book, they have a general idea of what they want to write and what they want to say, but they're stuck, don't know where to take it next. That's when you bring it to me or another developmental editor, but ideally me, because, 3-pound monkeys and all that. From there, your editor dives in, reads the entire book, goes through it, and starts to find those places where there's something missing or the pacing is off. If it's nonfiction, looking for kind of that message that might not be threaded through all the way, or different places where we could do more research. If it's fiction, let's make those relationships deeper and more interesting. Let's amp up the tension. Let's keep the reader on the edge of their seat. And so it's both from a structural perspective, but then also from kind of a thematic perspective. What I find particularly rewarding is that my job as a developmental editor is less, I'm not pushing your sentences around. Anyone can flip-flop words and move commas and things like that. What I'm doing is getting to kind of step into my author's voice and experience and figure out what they're not putting on the page yet. And that's often what the real story is. And so what we're doing is peeling back that first draft, figuring out what's missing, and then figuring out what the real story is that someone wants to tell.
That's awesome.
So
Correct, with peeling back the layers of the onion. So, and there's also coaching involved. So you do like all of these things.
Yeah.
So
all of them are related. They're all kind of the same idea.
There's like this through line. So talk about your coaching.
Yeah, similar idea. The idea that someone wants to write a book and they don't know what to do, don't know where to start. And so really that could be something from us sitting down and talking about, what does the publishing industry look like? What is traditional publishing versus self-published? Do you want to sell your book through Amazon and retain most of the royalties? Do you want Penguin Random House to be putting your book in Barnes & Noble? What does that look like financially, creatively, logistically? And then anything through kind of that ideation stage all the way through to actually figuring out what your story is, drafting it, putting it on the page, and being that equally parts annoying and supportive person that says, hey, you owe me a chapter. You should send that to me. And helping move people along. Accountability. Because writing can be such a solitary endeavor. And so kind of providing that community and that support and that encouragement, because it's often a really vulnerable and lonely endeavor. And you need that kind of person to push you along and give you that through line. So when I say coaching, it's kind of if you don't know where you're at, hop on a call with me and we'll figure out where you're at and kind of make a plan from there.
Right. So, and a question came to me and now I'm going to forget what it was. Shoot. I know we're talking about the we're going to have to, this is going to drive me insane. Okay. So let's go to book selling.
Yeah.
So back in the day, you had all of the authors and they were, they were famous and they would do their thing and their book signing and they, what happened to that? Is it still, because whenever I talk to people, they're like, writing books is just not lucrative anymore. Was it ever lucrative because they used to get, book deals and they knew that they were going to sell X amount of books. So they would get this much money down and then they had to keep, writing and writing. So is that it still, or has that changed?
Yeah. So what you're referring to is the traditional publishing route, and that really has not changed that much. You're still in a place where if you want to be traditionally published and you're not known yet, you have to write that whole book, go out and try to find a literary agent to represent you.
Right.
And that literary agent will shop your book to publishing houses, and they may or may not want to buy it. If they do want to buy it, it's for a certain amount of money that's based upon how well they think your book's going to sell. That could be anywhere from $900 to $1 million. Wow. Really fun range right there, depending on if you're famous and have a platform or if you're a completely unknown author. And from there, once you sign that contract, that payment is typically split over 3 or 4 different payments over the course of a few years. So you can imagine if you got $900 of an advance for a book, split over 3 payments over 3 years, that's not enough to do anything.
No.
So it really can be something that people just do for the love of it, for the hope that it sells much better than expected. Or if you're one of those lucky ones that gets that 6-figure book deal and then just keeps getting 6-figure book deals, amazing. You can make a career of it. I know of some people that have now started to take the self-publishing route as a more lucrative way of being a published author. Not necessarily because the book sales themselves do a huge ton of income, but more because it serves as a launch point for future clients for whatever industry that they're in. And it's kind of an easy...
And yeah.
And it's an easy communication piece for people to kind of get to know you as an individual, or get to know your philosophy or the mission behind what you do, as opposed to, just hoping someone stumbles across a website or something like that. So in short, publishing's not particularly lucrative unless you're one of those really lucky silver linings kind of writers that gets super lucky and hits gold on the first book or two. But there's so many people that still do it. And it's largely for the love of it and for the ability to communicate in a way that is so, in some ways, like ancient and timeless. I feel like a book carries a weight to it that an article or a blog post or an email just doesn't. And so there's still a huge value to it. But the reality is you're probably going to need a side hustle or a full-time job to front the cost of being a creative.
Right. It's funny. My friend, Diane, she was just on a couple of weeks ago. She wrote a book called Write Your Own Bloody Self-Help Book. And she's in the Midlands. And so we were trying to figure out, how to get it to sell here. So I think it's on Amazon and Kindle now. But and then I have another client her Kindle is ready. The paperback isn't ready. And what I find really interesting is that it's been like, the last 2 years I've been working with coaches and authors, as well as like the other service industries. But, it's been like coaches and authors. And it's been really interesting because each person's experience is different, and it's like Diane is in the UK and the sales are doing well in the UK. And I'm just going to, because this isn't how it's sold here, but the texture, right? It's like, I mean, this is right. It is gorgeous. I usually don't plug somebody else on somebody else's show, but just because we're talking about books, and I got it in the mail and I was like, ooh, and the version that's selling here is not that. It's like the cover is the hard, because it's hard cover, but it's not that nice, cool, material. So it's like, is that a US thing? Is it just that, Amazon printing just doesn't want to go that extra whatever? And then I guess the other thing too is like, by going through Amazon, you said that it's like more lucrative. It's still, are you getting like pennies on the dollar or something? Or
you are, but you're also getting pennies on the dollar when you go through traditional publishing as well. There's a balance. What I would say is if anyone's listening to this and they're like, oh God, I shouldn't write that book. No, you should. Trust me. There's a reason that people still write books. There is definitely value to it. And I would also say that anyone that tells you that books are dying is completely full of it. That's not true. Book sales are higher than they've ever been before. And books are more accessible than ever before between, ebooks, audiobooks, libraries, all of that. But a lot of what you're seeing in those little intricacies of like the cover looks different in the UK versus the US, that either is going down to, if it's a traditionally published book, the author doesn't have much say in what the cover looks like or what the distribution looks like. And often North American rights are different from UK rights or from any other country in the world that ends up buying and publishing that book. As far as, Amazon goes, there's a little bit more control in terms of what the book really looks like. So if the author wants to put out, a hardcover that has a different cover than the paperback, they can do that. But you'll also see a lot of authors that offer special editions through their own personal website and fulfill their own distribution, because then you have even more customization over a self-published book. And you can do the fancy special editions with the foil edges and the vellum inlays with the artwork and all those beautiful extras. But I think that the thing that people are gravitating towards self-publishing for is the ability to have control over things like sales, to run promotional deals, to drop that book down to 99 cents, to get a big bump in sales that then pushes you on the algorithm, gets you in front of more readers. There's just more levers that you can move, as opposed to being locked into that, $20 for a hardcover price that you see with a lot of traditionally published books. But the discoverability is different as well. So you have a traditionally published book, you can walk into a bookstore, walk into Target, pick it up and hold it. Whereas if you're self-publishing, it takes a little bit more elbow grease to kind of put in that marketing effort on your own, I would say. So different ways to go with it. But what you're feeling of holding that book and that tactile part of it. Oh yeah. That is the key part of the book buying and the book trophy hunting that is, being a reader. And that itself is its own sport.
Interesting. I never thought of reading as a sport. When I was younger, I was an avid reader. I think I told you I read Atlas Shrugged in a week, and it's 1,100 pages, which was insane. And the first 300 pages was not easy to get through. The fact that I even got past that's how dedicated I was, to reading. But man, once you got past those first 300 pages, it just went you couldn't put it down. And then, life got in the way. I have so many books in here that I just don't get to read. And I have, I have authors that have been on that have sent me books, and they're next thing I know, they're on tomorrow. And I'm like, oh shit, where's the book that they sent? I have to read some that, you know what I mean? And then it's can I find the book? And half the time it's no, because I have a pile. But then I got this bookshelf with doors on it, and I can't even tell you how many are in there. And I really need to make the time and get better about it. So I'm working with a coach, and she's you have to put time on your calendar, period. Yep. During the day, read for 15 minutes, and I'm you know what? You're right. So I've been trying to really, look at my calendar realistically. And when I, look at it, it's I go, okay, that's this week. Okay, so where am I going to fit that in? So now I try to do it at night. But then what I find myself doing is, we'll be watching TV. She goes to sleep. My latest binge is Wentworth. So I throw Amazon Prime on, and I'm sitting there, and it's 3:00 in the morning. And I'm what is wrong with me? I could be reading instead of watching this stuff. But then I get sucked into I feel almost remiss that I can't just sit my ass down on the couch, put the remote down, and pick up a book and read it, because I love that feeling, Dan Brown. I read every single book that he ever wrote. It's
yeah. There's something that is hard to turn off the busyness of a day where we're online all the time. You and I are similar, that we are in front of our screens, we're talking with people, we're working on projects. It's hard to remember. I mean, you then switch to Amazon Prime or whatever show you're watching on another screen. It often takes a kind of different gear to slow down and pick up that actual
or you're watching
book.
The other screen and you're on this screen. When we were talking the other night, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm why is she up? And I'm oh, she's 3 hours earlier than me. Why am I still up? And I'm
exactly. Exactly.
God. And I remember one of the selling points, excuse me, when I was working for a media company, one of the selling points was that people are on all of their screens all of the time. So if they're in the kitchen, they are on their tablet and their phone, right? So they're probably looking at a recipe on their on their tablet while they're looking at their other crap on their phone and listening to the TV in the background.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's true. So screens, I remember when the behavior changed from just watching a TV show and having the set-top box. I mean, we all know they spy on us. It is what it is, right? If you have cable, it does. And then having this, I'll say Caribbean vacation. And when we get off of this, I'll send you a screenshot and it's 4:44. I will show you a screenshot that says, hey, hop on a boat or whatever, come to the Caribbean. I mean, it's nuts, right? Like everything is
wild.
It is wild. It's all marketing. And I hate to, and like my clients are like, so like, do you do that kind of marketing? And I'm like, no. However, if you have a website, that's why you have to have these disclaimers. It's like, we don't sell your information. Like, I had somebody come to my site the other day and our third party thing, and it's like, we do not sell your info. I'm a teeny little marketing agency. It's not like I'm working with, anybody. But it doesn't stop that if you find me on Google and then you click on my site from Google, that Google or whoever, right, is going to be like, oh, this person's IP address clicked on here. That's their interest. And there's no way to stop that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Crazy.
And I think we still don't even know the extent to which data is being collected constantly. It's funny that you mentioned that.
I want to know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I do my marketing. I live in my happy little world, and it's like I don't want to know the other stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it's a far bigger problem than any one of us can tackle overnight. I mentioned my Substack earlier on, and I found that that's a platform that I've really been enjoying because it cuts out all the middlemen between writer and reader. And that has been so lovely. I did have someone recently, though, say, hey, you're cultivating this subscriber list. Someday you can monetize that and sell all those subscribers. And I wanted to gag. I was like,
yeah,
fundamentally, that's not the point of any of this, and it made me think about what a privilege it is to be in someone's inbox and to get to write essays directly to them and to get to have that interaction with your readers. For me, I'm like, I would never dare. Like, that is a sacred space for me. And
right.
a huge amount of respect is given both directions. So the idea that I would ever take someone's stuff and just turn around and sell it, I'm like, you can't lose your soul in all of this. And I think that's something that's become so important to me lately.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have. I think they just look at how, what is the technology and how can I monetize it?
Yeah.
And it's like, can't we just, I almost feel like this is why we can't have nice things, right? Because people can't just leave it all, Substack and what's the other one? Like Reddit. Now they're selling Reddit ads. Because they know, oh, God, yeah. They're like, I got 4 calls today from Isabella from Reddit. It's like, hey, it's Isabella, just trying to get hold of you. And I'm like, Reddit for me, and I really try to stay away from Reddit because everything is so political. It's like, I'm just so sick of all the pop. I just, and it's not that I'm not informed. I am. I just don't need it in my, 24/7 because it's easy to go down that rabbit hole. What I like about Substack, I do follow a political one, Ann P. Mitchell, and she's kind of doing a lot of research on the e-files. We'll just leave it at that, right? And she's a lawyer, and she's got there's some really interesting stuff in there. But even that, I can only read that every few days because it pops up. And I really feel that at some point, Substack is going to be, they're going to do it there because I think that anytime there's any kind of an informational platform, they find a way to do. Nextdoor has Oh yeah, like they have ads now, and
Yeah.
you know, I have one client who is like, who actually we put on Nextdoor, and he's killing it. But he started on Nextdoor. That's how I met him. You know, he's my pest control guy, and we met.
Yeah.
I found this bug that I'd never seen in my life, and it was this black scary ass bug. And I stepped on it just because it was this black scary ass bug, and it was near my dog, and and it was like this blue. I don't know. And anyway, so the blood is really like acidic and toxic, but I didn't know that, right? So I put the picture of the thing on, and he goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's a blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Well, it needs to die." And then I went out in my yard, and there's like a lot of them. And apparently, in the fall in Indiana, they come out, and it's really hard to. So then he and I started talking, and then I think at one point I just like hired him. I was like, I'm just going to hire you. And he never hired me for marketing. He did, his thing. And then he came to me 2.5 years ago for his marketing. And he went from him and a tech to now he has 5 techs, and he just hired a director of ops.
Wow.
And so I know, right? So, I mean, Nextdoor, you never know.
Yeah.
Because I had people go, "Oh, those people don't have money." And it's like, don't judge a book by its cover. You don't know who's in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't know. But, that's like an example of, monetizing it. But I think for the good, right? I think, you're looking for services. So.
Absolutely. It's funny that you mention pest control, because I've actually found I adore some pest control people because they are doing animal behavior work, but from a very different perspective. So I've had a blast nerding out over pest behavior with people, actually. And I spent a long time talking to a pest control guy that worked at a captive research facility, and specifically working to keep the rodent population down, but in a way that wouldn't harm any of the animals living at that facility if rat poison were to get somewhere. And so this genius man put all the rats on birth control. And I thought that was the funniest and most brilliant idea. Wow. That instead of putting out poison, put them all on birth control. Just let them live out their lives. Slowly the population's going to go down, and then you're done. And you don't have to worry about it quite as much. And I thought that was the funniest and like most clever way to do it. So you just talk to people who work on, human animal interactions like that. And you think about, kind of humane and clever ways to like mitigate conflict, really is what they're doing. And I think it's just absolutely fascinating.
Well, that is, yeah. And he nerds out on, he can tell you what kind of ant is in your yard by the different segments. And I used to say sections until last week, and he said they're not sections, they're segments. Okay. So the different segments, he can just zero in on what kind of an ant it is, and which one that if it gets in your house, you're kind of screwed. So to make sure that it doesn't get in your house. But he does our rodent control as well. And I know that, it's not by birth control. And I think this was like 2 or 3 years ago, Heather opened up the door, and there was a mouse that was like running up the jam. And so we, closed it. And she's freaking out, and I'm like, "Oh my God, is it dying?" Because it was just like laying there. And then I'm feeling guilty because I'm like, "Oh my God, I got in my shed." Right. And now I just want to like find a hole in the ground myself. And I'm like, okay, so she's freaking out. So I climb out my office window, which is literally 3 feet off the ground, right? So I open up my office window, and I have like this like jar and a little spatula, because I'm like, if it's dead, I don't want to hurt it by trying to lift it, or if it's alive, I don't want to hurt it by trying to lift it, and if it's dead, I have to lift it, right? So I climb out the window, and she's on the other side of the patio door, and I'm dying because when we first moved in together, and I'll tell you this offline because it's a long story, but one of the reason that I didn't move in a month after she moved here and I moved in a week after was because of a mouse, but it's another story. So I go around the side, and I see the mouse, and it's this teeny little thing, right? And I'm like, okay, so I tap it with the spatula and it's not moving. And I'm like, oh, and now I want to like, I'm like sick to my stomach.
Okay.
So I take the jar and I, you know, kind of place it and I do the spatula and it runs into the jar. And I was like, yes. And I held it up like this trophy. And I'm looking at her. See this thing? So I walked to the edge of our property and it's woods. And I just, you know, put it in the woods. And I was like, please live, little one. And I'm, you know, and our neighbor is watching this whole thing just going, you know, you are super special. But,
Your
you know,
Snow White moment out in the woods.
I mean, you know, with the little mat. So, and I haven't seen one, you know, since, but, you know, to me, it's like you watch them and I know it's like these overpopulations. I know it's not their fault. I know it's not their fault that they're dirty. And I know it's not their fault that they get whatever, but there's an issue, right? And unfortunately we have to be concerned about it, which makes me really sad.
Yeah. There's so many different angles on it.
Yeah. But you know, oh, go ahead.
I find it fascinating how just polarizing and, you know, really emotional people get about animals. The one that I'm thinking of right now is, I don't know if you've seen Ponchi the monkey, who's a little Japanese macaque.
Ponchi with his little stuffed animal. I'm like crying. I'm like, somebody find his monkey. And then they found him a monkey.
He's okay. He's been okay the whole time. What everyone's seeing and freaking out about looks like bullying from a human perspective. It's actually not. That's really normal behavior for a bunch of adults trying to teach, frankly, a little shithead monkey how to be a monkey. It looks aggressive. He's a little... Any monkey that age, that species is. So I worked with them for 10 years. I've worked with this species. I know what they're like. They're the most mischievous, ridiculous, just emotional creatures. I love them dearly. But they're little buttholes at that age. And Ponchi, for what it's worth, he is a slightly behind developmentally since he was raised by humans. He's still integrating into the group. Okay. But a lot of what people are seeing is actually really normal behavior, and he's actually handling it really well. And that's all. Everything that you're seeing is actually very normal for that species and healthy. But you see so many people online that are just in tears because this sweet baby monkey's getting beaten up. And he's not, trust me. If they wanted to beat him up, they would. He's okay. But it's been fun. That's my kind of news, right? I try to avoid the news. That's my kind of news right there.
I love that.
Monkey,
I would love
talk about this.
But my feed to be all about Ponchi and his, and I didn't hear about it. It was like so funny because everyone's talking about this and I'm in my own, you know, world doing whatever. And I didn't even know about it. And then, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, my friend is like, have you seen Ponchi? And I'm like, yeah. What's a Ponchi? And she, what? Where have you been? You're online all the time.
The videos.
Like, not the way that you are, you know. And so she sends me this thing, and I'm like, oh, it's a little monkey with like a little stuffed animal monkey. And now I'm all, you know, whatever. And then she sends me this thing the other day where Ponchi is now being, you know, hugged and loved on, and I was like, he found his monkey home. But now I know that, you know, Ponchi was a little asshole, and that's why, you know.
Well, he's working his way into the group. You're seeing him.
I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, you know, we're all so quick to judge. And that's the perfect example of how quickly we are to judge stuff that we don't even know about. Yeah. And if we just ask a couple of questions, let's ask a couple of questions.
Yeah. I have a friend who's been very active on Threads trying to combat all of the Ponchi misinformation out there. And I've not been as diligent as her, but you can drive yourself wild trying to, you know, get the message out. But it makes me wonder how many things have I taken for granted on the news that are just completely wrong or just not based in fact. And this just happens to be my little pocket of the world that I can explain and that I understand well. But if you do want Ponchi on your feed all the time, subscribe to my Substack, Iris. That's where all the Ponchi news is. Tomorrow morning, another article's coming out.
Oh God, everybody subscribe to her Substack. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Thank you. Thank you, Iris.
I mean, but I just find it interesting how quickly, anytime an article comes out, like my friend will post it and she's like, don't read the comments. You can't tell me, as soon as you tell me don't do something, I'm going to do it. And I know what it's like. I already know what they're going to be, especially the crap that she sends me. And I'm like, why? And I don't engage. So I used to. I'm going to say probably after COVID, I stopped. But during COVID, oh my God, I was like that warrior. And I am like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, they're like, well, so-and-so is saying that if we shoot bleach up our butt, and I'm like, I want a picture. I literally want, go ahead and do it. And I want to see a picture of that thing and your ass. And they were just like, that's wrong. I'm like, if you're that stupid that you're going to do it, I want proof, so, because the people did it. People did it. So I'm just going to leave that at that. So COVID for me was like a fascinating time because I ended up with it. I almost died from it, but I didn't know until, we'll talk. But anyway, but it was just fascinating watching, and I'm just going to say it, those with critical thinking skills and those without. And it was just like, where am I? I just remember being like, where am I? Like, how did we even, get here? And then they're doing these beautiful pictures of the canals in Venice with a dolphin, and there's like life. And I was just like, wow, maybe, Mother Nature did this for a reason, right? Because things started healing because humans weren't out and about.
Yeah. Oh, and I think there are some good things from that time period that have, prevailed, but it also feels like a lot of the world just kind of went back to normal and just kind of readjusted. I'm sure Venice doesn't look like that anymore.
No, I know, which is sad.
But because then again, I know. But the rise of people being able to work from home has also been fantastic. I mean, I can attest that I love that personally. It's allowed me to be home with, my partner and now my toddler, and that's been hugely transformative for us. So a couple little good things, stuck from that time.
So does he work from home also, or is he like it?
Yes. I like to occasionally joke that I have an office romance with the cute guy at the desk next to mine. Yeah. As if we haven't been married for nearly 10 years. Yeah. Which
is awesome. And and you landed the guy that everybody wanted. So there's that. I mean,
of course.
I mean, so I think there's a novel coming out of that. I'm just saying.
I do write romance novels, actually.
I know. That's why I said that.
Good. Okay. I wasn't sure what I told you and what I had it. So,
no, I knew. That's why I threw that out there. I mean, I could just talk to you for hours. So like, what is next for you? Like, what are your next steps?
Yeah. So next steps are working on this monkey book that I'm working on. Hopefully within this upcoming year, would love to try to sell that. I'm pursuing traditional publishing with that book, largely because I think that the distribution is really going to matter for that one, for getting the stories of these animals out there and into the hands of readers. Simultaneously, I'm writing a ton on my Substack. That's kind of becoming my, own personal way of relating to my readers and finding my readers. But beyond talking about monkeys and parenthood and kind of redefining my career, I'm also releasing chapters of one of my rom-coms on Substack right now. So every Monday I drop another chapter of that book, which is a not self-insert, I promise, but it is about a primatologist who travels the world and her old love story. So there are bits of me in this book, but it's also, its own, not actually my love story. But that's a book that I wrote a few years ago and was a really, wonderfully escapist time period for me. So it's been fun to kind of put that out to the world, find readers that identify with that, and let readers escape into that. And then building up my editorial business. So I've got clients that have been coming in. I'm booked out through June of this year so far with some really phenomenal books.
That is awesome. That's
But
awesome.
I'm always looking for the next, author that's looking to get their story out into the world and want someone who's rigorous, but also going to be your new book best friend, because I can't help myself.
Your new book best friend. I love that. NBBF. There we go. We have a new acronym for you. So,
Perfect.
Allison, your NBBF. Yeah, this is just. I'm just so fascinated. So, and I'm getting to this late, but I don't care. So, you went from academia to doing your own thing, right? And there are people that are entrepreneurs listening to this that are going, should I, what do I do? So what advice do you have for somebody who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
Start before you think you're ready. No one's going to hand you that title. No one's going to say you're a book editor now. You just become a book editor now. And I think that's that feeling of being paralyzed by what you could do is what prevents people from just starting. So I say, there's something you want to try, start doing it. You'll figure out the website while you're already running. You're going to find more clients while you're already working with the first couple ones, and you just run with it while you have the energy.
Wow. I love that. And that is one of my favorite questions, because people answer it similarly and yet so differently, right? There's like a lot of similar ones and a lot of different ones. And there's a lot of people out there. And I think that, entrepreneurship, I always say, it's not for the weak of heart, but I think that if you can do it, I wouldn't be doing anything else. Like my friends and I laugh, we're like, we are unemployable. We are now unemployable. Is that drilled by you or is that Kofi?
Nope, that is me.
Oh, okay. No, that's okay. So this is, I could ask you like 50,000 million questions, because you're so multifaceted. It's like, it's not like the primates or there's like so many different things. So, all right. So where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me on my Substack. I go either by Monkey Girl, pretty easy to remember. My full name, Allison Lau, will also get you there. Last name spelled Lau. And my website is AllisonLau.com.
And it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful website. That's all I'm going to say.
Thanks to Iris. It was decent and now it's way better.
Oh my God, it's amazing. It's just like, well, because you listen, there are some people. I remember this woman was like a few years ago, we went to her website and she said, can you make any suggestions? And I was like, yeah. And I would have redone it. It was just loading, like her hero image took almost like a minute and a half to just load. It was ridiculous. I was like, oh my God, I would be gone. So I gave her some suggestions and she didn't do anything with it. And then she wanted to hire me. We had a conversation. I told her my price and then she went somewhere else. And I was like, okay. And when I look at her site, it's like, you kind of got what you paid for. I would never tell her that, but but you listened. Like you already had the bones. The bones were good. It was just changing color and a little layout. And it's beautiful. But anyway.
You're wonderful. And I would say I know when to stay in my lane and to consult an expert. And I know when things are in my wheelhouse. This was not. So appreciate you and your eyes as always.
Well, it was my pleasure. So, okay. So we're almost at an hour, which is crazy, although I'm not shocked. Is there any kind of wisdom that you want to leave with the audience?
Oh, I think a lot of people spend a lot of time not doing the thing that they love. I think just do it. I ran headfirst towards monkeys and it was the best decision I could have made. Now I'm running headfirst towards books, and again, one of the best decisions I could have made. I think that there's something to be said about finding joy in what you're doing. The rest will sort itself out around that.
Love that. And of course, the last question that I ask all my guests is, what lights your fire?
Oh, I've got to say, my humans, the couple people that I keep really close, those are the ones. My husband, and then I have a little 18-month-old that rules my life right now. And those two are definitely it for me.
And they're both adorable, husband and the little human. So
yes, indeed.
Thank you. Family. Thank you so much for taking out, time from your day to share you and your story with my audience. Really enjoyed having you on. And when your book is out, we're going to have you back. So 100%.
Cannot wait.
Yes.
You're the best. Thank you, Iris. So great chatting with you.
I am going to say goodbye and I'll be right back. Everybody. First off, 3-pound monkeys. I mean, I'm just going to keep going back to that. But I really hope that this episode, I know we kind of went all over the place. I'm sure my regular listeners are like, what the hell was that? But if you're my regular listener, you're probably not shocked by it. So thank you for hanging out in Hour Plus. I hope that you are as intrigued and amazed by Allison as I am. Keep your eye out for her book. When we know what the name and everything is going to be, I may just announce it in the middle of I may blurt it in, some other interview that I'm doing, but go, AllisonLoud.com, go to her Substack. When this thing is over, I'm going to be going and joining her Substack because, I have to now. But again, thank you for hanging out. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a review. And if you had any golden nuggets from this, let us know in the comments below because, I love to hear what people have gained from this because this is my passion project. I do this for fun and love and to give other people a platform, for their voice. So I appreciate you all. And until next time, go out and find what lights your fire. See ya.